All right, you beautiful, emotionally damaged Rex. Forget everything you thought you knew about the 2025 championship, because in Mexico, the title fight didn't just get spicy, it completely imploded. We had a new championship leader, a three-way war was declared, and the biggest losers were the guys who came in on top. This is winners and losers from the Mexican Grand Prix, and we have to start with the biggest loser of them all. The man who came into Mexico wearing the crown and left with nothing. Oscar Piastri. My God, what happened here? This was a painful weekend for the Aussie. After a difficult qualifying that saw him start down in P7, his race was a complete struggle. He lost places off the line, got trapped in a DRS train, and just seemed to be fighting a car that he couldn't get comfortable with. A problem he's been hinting at since Austin. He was seen scrapping with George Russell, and while he managed to recover to a P5 finish, that result was a disaster in the grand scheme of things. His teammate and title rival Lando Norris was in a different postcode, winning the race by over 30 seconds. And the result was brutal. Oscar Piastri has lost the lead of the Formula One World Championship. After a season of looking almost bulletproof, his points lead has been completely frittered away. He now sits one single point behind Lando. And even worse, with Max Verstappen finishing on the podium, what was a two-horse race has now become a three-way war, with Max closing the gap to just 35 points. This was a weekend where Oscar needed to be perfect, and instead, he was anonymous. A brutal, championship-altering reality check. And you have to wonder if the cracks are finally starting to show. Next up on our losers list is a man who was on for his strongest race in Ferrari all year, only to have it ripped away from him. Sir Lewis Hamilton. I mean, this one has to sting. After a fantastic qualifying that saw him secure his first top 3 start for the Scuderia, the hype was real. He had the pace, he was right in the mix, and a long-awaited first podium in red was genuinely on the cards. He even had a great start, getting the jump on his teammate Leclerc into turn 1 before Leclerc cut the grass to retake the position. Then came the battle with Max Verstappen. It was hard, wheel-to-wheel stuff, but in the chaos, Lewis cut the track at turn 4 to hold his position, and the stewards? Oh, they were not impressed. They hit him with a 10-second time penalty that wrecked his race. And look, you can argue about it all day. Should Max have gotten a penalty for his own lunge? Did the team drop the ball by not telling Lewis to give the time back? Knowing Ferrari, probably. But the end result is the same. The penalty dropped him way out of contention. He put in a great recovery drive, climbing from the midfield back up to P8, but that's not what he was there for. On a day where he had the pace for a trophy, he left with a handful of points and a whole lot of frustration. Another tough day for the 7-time champ. All right, let's talk about George Russell. Because, my God, if you want a case study in a driver having a frustrating, messy, and ultimately pointless race, this was it. His weekend was defined by 2 things: getting stuck and getting angry. For long spells of the race, he was trapped behind his rookie teammate Kimi Antonelli, and you could hear the desperation in his voice on the radio, pleading, almost begging with the team to let him by so he could attack the cars ahead. The team's response? A classic no thank you. Just pure one-word shutdowns. You love to see it. Eventually, they did swap position, but it was too little too late. His tires were shot and he couldn't make an impression on the cars in front. Then, to add insult to injury, he got dive-bombed by a recovering Oscar Piastri, losing yet another position. He came home in P7 behind his rookie teammate, having spent the entire race either arguing with his engineer or getting pushed around on track. It was a weekend that promised a podium fight and delivered nothing but a headache and a whole lot of radio rage. A day to forget for Mr. Saturday. The next loser on this beautiful list is Williams. After the absolute fairy tale of Sainz's podium in Baku, Williams came crashing back down to earth in Mexico. And I mean that literally. This was a painful, scrappy, and ultimately pointless weekend where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And we have to focus on Sainz. His weekend was a masterclass in how to turn a good starting position into a complete and utter disaster. His qualifying was actually superb, putting the car in P7, but because of a 5-place grid penalty from Austin, he started P12. Then the race started. And what followed was a comedy of errors so pathetic you almost have to laugh. It all went wrong at the start with contact that damaged his car. But that was just the beginning. According to the team, that damage messed with the car's sensors, which in turn broke the pit lane speed limiter. The result? He got pinged for speeding in the pit lane twice. The second one was a drive-through penalty that completely wrecked any slim hope of points. And to cap it all off, he ended up spinning in the stadium section and retiring the car, causing the late virtual safety car. From a potential points finish to a DNF caused by a cascade of pure bad luck. It was a race you'd want to wipe from your memory, Men in Black style. And what about his teammate, Alex Albon? Well, he was a ghost. He got knocked out of qualifying in Q1 for the third time in 4 events and recovered to P12, but he simply didn't have the pace to score. A painful, empty-handed weekend for a team that had hoped for so much more. And finally, to round out our losers circle, we have to talk about Racing Bulls, because for the third race weekend in a row, the team has failed to score a single point. Their longest dry spell in over a year at the worst possible time as the midfield battle gets ultra tight. This was a weekend where nothing clicked. Their star from Baku, Liam Lawson, had his race ruined before it even started. He was hit by signs at the beginning, suffered damage, and had to retire the car. A brutal end to his weekend. So, all hopes rested on Isaac Hadjar. And for a while, it looked like he might salvage something. He ran in the points for a good chunk of the race, but his strategy, which involved a long medium stint, left him with only used soft tires for the final part of the race. He was a sitting duck. He had no pace to defend and faded backwards, ultimately finishing down in P13. He was powerless to stop a charging Bortoleto in the Sauber from snatching away what could have been the final point. After a weekend that promised so much, especially after Lawson's qualifying, they left Mexico with nothing. A team that seems to be in a serious downward spiral. It's a tough look when your team is named after an energy drink and you have zero energy. All right, so that was the loser circle. A complete catalog of chaos, incompetence, and shattered dreams. And if you're enjoying this unhinged F1 autopsy, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe right now so you don't miss the next one. Thanks, mate.
Anyway, for every story of heartbreak, there is a story of triumph. For every driver who leaves a track broken, there's another who leaves a hero. So now let's flip the script. Let's talk about the winners. And my God, we have to start with the feel-good story of the entire weekend. Take a bow, Ollie Behrman, because you are in the form of your life right now. On a weekend where so many veterans were losing their heads, this rookie put in a performance for the ages. After dragging that Haas into Q3 for the third race in a row, he had a rocket start, jumping from P9 to P6. Then, in the absolute bedlam of the opening laps, with Max, Lewis, and George all playing bumper cars, he was opportunistic, he was smart. He slipped through the chaos and found himself running in P3. Let me repeat that because my brain is still trying to process it. A Haas was in a podium position on pure merit. And this is where we all expected him to crumble, right? He's got faster cars breathing down his neck, but he didn't. He drove a superb defensive masterclass, keeping world-class drivers behind him for a huge chunk of the race. And what was the final result? It was a phenomenal P4 finish. This wasn't just his best ever result in F1, it also equaled Haas's best ever finish in their entire history. A massive, transformative result that catapulted him 5 places up in the driver's standings and moved Haas up to 8th in the constructors. After a season of being a backmarker, this was a giant killing drive from the baby goat. This wasn't just a masterclass, this was a miracle in a Haas. But a miracle is one thing, inevitability is another. While Ollie Behrman was having his fairy tale drive, Max Verstappen was busy playing 4D chess. He may have missed out on a top 2 finish for the first time since before the summer break, but his P3 podium was a masterclass in championship-level thinking. It's almost annoying how good he is at this. After a messy qualifying that saw him start down in P5, Red Bull put him on an offset strategy, starting on the medium tires while his rivals were on the softs. And in the chaos of the opening laps, he was both aggressive and smart. He had his ambitious lunge on Hamilton, and he got squeezed onto the curbs, but he survived where others didn't. And in the final stages of the race, that strategy paid off. With fresher tires, he was absolutely flying, cutting through the field and hunting down Charles Leclerc for second place. If it wasn't for that late VSC caused by signs, he almost certainly would have gotten him. But here's why he's a true winner this weekend. On a day where he didn't have the fastest car and was on the back foot, he still maximized the result. He saw the McLaren drivers self-destruct, and he capitalized. He came into this race 94 points behind the championship leader. He leaves just 36 points behind the new leader, Norris. If championships are won on your bad days, then this was a very, very good sign for Max Verstappen. He didn't just salvage a podium, he reignited his entire title campaign. The man just refuses to go away. So while Max was playing the long game and Behrman was the underdog hero, we have to give a massive shout out to the guy who just did a clean, professional, and near-perfect job all weekend, Charles Leclerc. For the second race in a row, Charles and Ferrari were on it. And as a down-low Ferrari fan, it feels weird to say this, but there was no chaos, no controversy. After a season of ups and downs, this was exactly the kind of performance they needed. He converted his 5th front-row start of the season into a well-deserved P2 finish, his 3rd consecutive podium in Mexico City. And he did it by staying out of trouble. In the Turn 1 chaos where everyone was playing bumper cars, he was smart. He took to the grass, avoided the carnage, and immediately gave the position back to Norris to avoid any penalty drama, a lesson his teammate could probably learn from. From there, he just managed his race. He didn't quite have the pace to challenge Lando for the win, but he held his own and did a brilliant job of holding off a charging Max Verstappen at the end. If it wasn't for that late VSC caused by Sainz, he almost certainly would have gotten him. The result moves him closer to George Russell in the fight for P4 in the standings, and crucially helps push Ferrari back into P2 in the Constructors' Championship. No drama, no mistakes, just a classy, effective drive from the Monegasco. A drive that on any other day might have been the story of the race. But not this day, because this day belonged to the new king. And finally, we have to talk about the biggest winner of them all. The man who came into Mexico trailing in the championship and left sitting on the throne, Lando Norris. This was a textbook lights to flag demolition job. After a season of ups and downs, this was the weekend where Lando put it all together. He nailed the launch from pole, led cleanly through the Turn 1 chaos, and from there, he just never looked back. He was in a league of his own, managing his tires with ease and finishing almost half a minute ahead of Charles Leclerc in second. An absolute masterclass. And what was the result? He is the new leader of the Formula One World Championship. For the first time since all the way back in April, Lando Norris is at the summit. Now, as you'd expect, he wasn't getting carried away after the race. He knows it's only by one single point. He knows that his title rival, Oscar Piastri, had a disastrous weekend. And he knows that Max Verstappen is now 36 points behind the new leader and looking seriously threatening. But with only 4 races to go, there is no doubt that Lando is the one with the momentum. On a high-pressure weekend where he needed to deliver a hammer blow, he did exactly that. The kind of hammer blow he really should have dropped in Baku, but better late than ever. A flawless championship-level performance from the new king. So, there you have it, a complete autopsy of the Mexico City madness. A weekend where the championship lead changed hands, an underdog became a hero, and the title fight was blown wide open. And with a crazy race in Brazil next up on the calendar, something tells me it's only going to get crazier. All right, if you watch this whole thing, you're a true F1 addict. So, if you're not already, go on, hit that like button and subscribe to feed the addiction. Now for the real question, and I want to see your answers in the comments, who was your biggest winner and your biggest loser from the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix? Let me know what you think, and if you're ready to go even deeper down the F1 rabbit hole, the content gods have already chosen your next video. It's on the screen right now. Go on, click it. You don't want to anger them.